We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com.
Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Andrew, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. And welcome back, Tom. My goodness, it's been 2 weeks since we've seen you. Hello, hello.
Yes. What was I doing last week? Oh yeah, I was doing a training. And for those that have any interest whatsoever, the repiping is done. The drywall, for the most part, is fixed.
Yep.
The holes have been filled with concrete, and we're waiting on the tile guy who says he's not going to be able to do it till next week.
Okay.
So, all in all, going fine.
The major problem is now done. Hooray!
Yeah, and we've gotten a couple of emails from people who are like, "Well, you shoulda." And
we're going to talk about one of those. One of those is going to be in our comments.
Oh, well, then maybe I'll wait for that, I guess, before I start going off.
Well, before we go any further, I want to say thank you to Lee Overstreet and to Joe Klusnick for guest co-hosting with me once again last week. We did another 3-man podcast, so that was a lot of fun, and we did a full catch-up from having, at my request, taken the week prior to that off from the podcast. So, yeah, it's been a little while since we've seen Tom, but we had a nice, long, extended episode there last week. And it looks like it's going to be a fairly short show this week. Famous last words as always, but it's been kind of quiet around these parts. But before we dig into any of the regular podcast, just so that my arm doesn't fall off while I'm holding this thing out of screen, I don't know if Tom even noticed that it was out of screen. I'm going to have to move my microphone away a little bit, and I'm going to have to back up in order to get this on camera. But
it feels like a transformer. I feel like I can see a transformer.
I can't move that mic from where it's positioned, but I'm going to back up. There you go. I've got my Lego Enterprise all
We've got
completed.
the Enterprise,
Enterprise D. Yup. You can barely see it on YouTube because it is large and it is hard to hold. And it is
you're braver than me. I would not pick that thing up. It looks like it's going to fall apart. Like
it is remarkably screen accurate looking, like for a Lego.
It does.
I'm very, very pleased with it. And even got the saucers. And so one thing to know about this, I'm not going to try and demonstrate this holding it with a microphone in the way and on camera and all this, but the saucer section can actually detach.
Separate? Oh, jeez. I definitely wouldn't pick it up if the sauce is separated, that's for sure.
Right. So this is going to be very awkward while I shift off camera to put this down, because I'm definitely not holding this the entire podcast. But I had to show it off, and it was, I'll talk about it in a second once I put this down. Get one moment here. Vamp for a second,
One moment. Yes, so if you're not looking at it on YouTube or whatever, you can just Google the big Lego Enterprise D.
That's right.
That's really nice. That's really nice.
Really nice.
How long did it take you?
Obviously I could have just dedicated, but with the time I had available, I spread it across about 3 evenings with some TV in the background on, and just piecing things together across about 3 evenings. It was a fun build. I wanted to mention it was a fun, not all Lego sets are actually fun to construct. This one was quite fun because they did some, I thought, very innovative and creative connection methods, because it's not a normal Lego shape, right?
Because the saucer section has got the Legos that you can attach, the little round parts on the top and the bottom.
Right.
So there's something weird going on in there.
That's right. And then the nacelles are nice and curved and everything on that. Like there's a lot of curves on that ship. It's not a blocky thing. And they didn't do the thing where they translated into pixel art so that it could be really, really blocky and do it that way. It's like they tried to retain the curves. So there's quite a few parts that are connected where they use basically like the old lance from the castles as like a cylindrical part, and that was inserted through some of the pieces that have the little hole in them, and then on the other side were little clips So you would actually connect it via like cylinders and clips to fit things like the nacelles together, and then like the engineering section is in two halves that you sort of like press together with Technics parts, like left half onto right half. And so yeah, it was some like really creative ways of building it together. I heard some people saying that putting together the saucer section was a little bit boring because you're building multiple similar sections that are then all like they hinge on the top and bottom, so that's how they get the parts looking rounded on both top and bottom of the saucer. So they use a hinge section there, and then again it's like hooks and clips to attach everything there. So you're building multiple parts that are similar and then clipping it all in. But I just found the entire build very enjoyable, and I really like the end result of it. So they are still available. I haven't actually put together the little free gift that came with it, which was the shuttlecraft. I haven't put that little guy together yet, and so you won't be getting the shuttlecraft with it anymore if you purchase it at this point. But I am not the least bit disappointed in having made that purchase, and very, very pleased with the results. So I showed it off a little on the podcast here. Hooray! Yay!
Oh, look at that! Now it's tax deductible or something. I don't know.
Maybe not. Didn't think of that.
Oh yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, I have nothing. I've just got holes in my house to show off. I guess
you don't have any new toys, new toys to show off, new toys to talk about. I mean, you got pipes. You got functioning pipes in your house.
We've actually been trying very hard to cut down on expenditure of money because of all of this that's been going on. But also, we've already spent money and we're waiting for like furniture and stuff to arrive. And of course, while this is all going on, the furniture's like, we're ready to deliver. When do you want the delivery? And we're like, okay, you're going to have to wait. You have to wait a little while. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
We've got holes. We've got dust. We're like, no, don't please deliver right now.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's been stressful, but for the most part, we're happy that it's over.
Okay.
We'll see.
What should be the highly unexpected but major repair after shortly moving in. Hopefully that's the end of that as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, speaking of, you've obviously been very busy, well explained and well understood. I've been busy too, and it doesn't seem like it's letting up for a couple of weeks or so. I don't actually know what we're going to do with our numbering scheme.
I'm trying so hard to get the stuff done that I need to get to episode 1000. You guys don't even know. It's like it's ridiculous. I just looked at it and went, "Oh my god, are we on 999.8 already?"
We sure are. I guess I should have added some zeros
on this thing. I know.
I really
I'm
did
trying
not
so
anticipate.
hard.
And it's not you, Tom. I mean, I haven't done a darn thing on my end either, and it's just kind of ridiculous. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. I guess we're going to start going alphanumeric or something. That might
I guess so. 9.9A.
That's right.
Well, I feel like we're a carp at this point. we just keep adding things in order to make it whatever. It's silly.
It's okay.
So yes,
I mean, it doesn't seem like that's honestly the priority in the world right now or in either of our lives right now. We will figure out something. It's not the podcast is not going away.
I've still got 2 subwoofers sitting in my garage. In a box. They might not work. I don't know. I mean, they might not work.
And I mean, I guess I shouldn't even admit it, but I mentioned how the whole thing with Dirac and Dirac Art for the Denon A1H receiver that I have, that I was considering, getting that as kind of like a birthday present to myself, and we even had a listener who specifically donated directly to me, saying he wanted to chip in a little bit of money towards getting Dirac. I mean, I've said it now. I mean, I did make that purchase, and no, I have not even cracked that open. I like made sure to download the license onto my laptop so that doesn't go missing or anything like that. But I haven't touched that whatsoever. So we're not being great as far as like prioritizing home theater and podcast stuff right now. But I think it's understandable. I think it really is. And we don't seem to be the only ones who are kind of busy and distracted and away from podcasts right now, because it's been a little bit quiet around the email parts for the past couple of weeks, quieter than usual for us. But it's, I think there's things going on in the world that kind of explain that for a lot of
We're
people.
also getting towards the end of the school year for those that, the summer, starting to kick up and people are starting to get busy with stuff. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
We will, it'll, one of these days we'll run out of questions. We will have gotten to the bottom of the questions that exist in the universe.
See,
and
I'm
when
fully
it happens,
expecting that the a number of questions coming in is going to continue to dwindle because people are just searching AI responses. And what I'm anticipating, this is my prediction, we'll see if it comes true or not. I think the questions coming to us will continue to dwindle, and then all of a sudden they're starting to go back up. Because like people, what people generally want, and this isn't just for home theater related questions, any type of questions, like they want a response, and they want a response that is quick and easy to understand and seems reasonable. And AI is pretty darn good at providing that.
Seems reasonable is the most important part of what Rob just said, because this is also happening to me with bike shop. A guy came in yesterday and he's like, I'm fixing this bike myself. I just need you to put the chain back on and make the gears work. I'm like, that's like saying it's like wheeling your car in and saying, I want you to, I'm going to fix it myself. I just want you to make the engine work. Like it just, that's the whole thing. And it's clear. It is clear as day to me that he's been basically chat GPTing how to fix this thing, because it was so messed up in a very specific way that could only be done by human hands. Like it's not something that the bike fell over, the bike got in a crash, or it was installed incorrectly or anything. He's like, everything used to work and I started working on it and now nothing works. I'm like, okay. So I looked at it. I'm like, yes, you have made what you did. No human being would have told you to do, because it is legitimately wrong in every sense. Like it is as wrong as trying to turn a doorknob in the wrong direction or use the deadbolt to open it or something. You know what I mean? It's just fundamentally incorrect. And I think you're absolutely right. We're going to see this spike as people figure out that AI has led them astray, and now everything is screwed up.
That's what it is. Because I mean, I'm just as I don't want to use the word guilty of it. I mean, I have prompted, just in regular Google search, because you can't avoid it, just doing a Google search and looking at the AI response that's at the very top of any Google search that you do right now. And I mean, very often I've looked at that and gone, well, I mean, that it's not obviously on the face of it wrong, right? Like it seems like a reasonable response.
Yes.
And look, sometimes it's bang on. It's not like it's never right. Sometimes it's bang on, but then I've had multiple instances, and I look, this one I will say guilty of. Like I had somebody just ask literally like, how do I change this audio setting? Like it's not really something that needed any kind of lengthy reply or needed to be on the podcast or something. It was literally like, how do I change from HDMI out to optical out? It's like a pretty darn simple, straightforward thing. And like, unfortunately, I just copy pasted the quick result off of Google because rather than typing it out, and it's like, you know what, wasn't quite right, wasn't way off base. And the person even wrote back to say, oh, well, that wasn't quite right, but I found what I needed from what you said. Like, there's literally like
that
two of the words
like
were
the
not
definition of AI answers. It's like it gets you close enough into the ballpark that you can figure it out for yourself, but that's not that's not an answer. That's wrong. It is wrong. The answer was not correct.
If it's a question like that, well, then that isn't going to end up coming back to us on the podcast as a question via email, because it got them close enough that they found it. But it's when you're changing multiple things, it compounds, right? It starts compounding when you're doing multiple things. And just like you said with the guy coming into the bike shop, the very first thing that he tried changing on that bike maybe worked. Like how did he get to the point that he was at if he didn't do multiple things? But with multiple things being ever so slightly incorrect, it compounds to the point.
It really depends on the specificity of your question. And if you really don't know what you're doing, you can't be specific enough. Like if you go in there like, how do I fix my car? It won't start. Yeah. It's going to, who knows what information it might give you, right? But if you're like, how do I change the starter on my Nissan Altima 2016, whatever trim level it is, it might give you a very close answer or a very close to truth answer. But can we all look back on the heady days of us making fun of Wikipedia and Reddit as being terrible places for sources of information? And now I scroll past the AI, and if I see a Reddit post, I'm like, that's where the good stuff is now. That's where I'm going to find the answer is on Reddit.
That's what a lot of AI is being trained on. But yeah, I mean, that was like Stephen Colbert's very first episode when back at the Colbert Report, right? Yeah. When he brought up the truthiness, and it was, that was a criticism of Wikipedia saying we brought democracy to knowledge, right? That was the whole thing. And it's like, now I trust Wikipedia way more than most other results. So it's wild.
Sad state of affairs. It really is. But yes, I agree with you. It's an AI slump right now. I think everybody's using AI and trying to figure out stuff themselves, and it's going to take them a while to get to the point where they're like, I keep getting wrong answers, I keep getting led astray, or I keep getting close to the right answer, but it's not right,
I'm just at a point where I thought it was okay. Things kept going kind of right and kind of okay, but now I'm in a situation where it doesn't work, and because I've followed all these ever so slightly askew steps, and like I say, it's compounded now. It's like now I'm at a point where no matter what prompting I do with AI, it can't get me to a solution because I've just gone down too many steps of ever so slightly incorrect things. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people who are professional translators, right? Just language translators, one language to another, and almost all of them are saying how they're out of work, right? Like all the companies have just gone fully AI. We just need to translate this from one language to another. We write it in our native language, throw it into an AI translator, and it seems to be good enough. And then I'm predicting it won't really take that long because I'm already seeing technical companies in particular, like electronics companies, or medical companies, who are like, we hired a translation firm to take our instructions, very specific, technical and important instructions. And we've had this firm that we've been working with for ages, and had their translators doing this work for us. And now we're still working with that same firm. Nothing changed there, but the results we're getting back now are filled with errors, and that is unacceptable when it's a medical or a technical, this is stuff that has to be translated very precisely. And they're like, so it's not that we, the company making this piece of medical equipment or whatever, don't want the good translation. It's that all the translation firms we work with, they've fired all their human translators and rely on AI translation. I'm like, that's not going to last. That is going to get somebody injured or killed at some point. There's going to be lawsuits about it. And it's going to be let's hire back some of these, at least people to check if the AI did it right, if nothing else. So.
Yeah. And I talk about this with my wife and kid, the one who's home still. Quite often we talk about large language models and how they work. And I'm like, it's just statistics. They're just predicting what the next word is that they should use based on all the sentences they've ever read, which is everything. That's on the internet. And the other thing is they've been trained on information that is slowly becoming more and more out of date. People are writing less and less because they're using AI to write. So AI is writing based on things that they have done, that it has read in the past. It's writing new stuff based on that old information, and nothing's getting. There's but little newer information, and that's going to be a problem for AI. But it's also a problem that people are being de-incentivized to create new content, like me. Writing reviews and stuff. I got a pair of headphones in for a review. I'm actually going to start working on it right after this, and I'm thinking to myself, this is just going to get scraped by AI. It's going to end up, that's the thing. Everywhere.
The biggest indication that you can't trust the Google AI search results, at least as far as home theater gear goes, is I've never seen AVRant or AV Gadgets linked to as the source from which it's pulling its information just yet. So there you go. Now I know. I'm just convinced. Can't trust that answer.
That's right.
Didn't go to the most reliable sources.
Yeah, so over the last couple of weeks, it was spring break. I had two of my kids. Well, the one came home from FSU and stayed with us, and while the other, my 16-year-old, went away on a school trip to Italy. Okay. It sounds like we have a lot of money.
I was going to ask, was anybody flying? Because holy smokes, the airport.
Oh yes, they were supposed to leave on Thursday, and then they got a notification that their flight was going to be delayed because they all had to be rerouted because the Lufthansa pilots went on strike that day.
Okay. That on
And
top
then,
of the lines.
Where I am in Tampa, apparently they are paying their TSA agents.
Oh, okay.
At Tampa, and so the lines here are not bad.
Okay. Okay.
So they didn't have any problems getting in and out. Once you're in the airport system, I guess the TSA not getting paid is the problem. I have not been following this news story. Please do not use me as a primary
certainly isn't
news source.
helping. That is the part that's being reported the most, because just the lines to check in are astronomical and ridiculous, and people are literally waiting like 8 to 10 hours in some cases, which is not a normal amount of time. And that's just to get through the security check line. Like that's not the literal entire process of boarding the plane. And that is nuts.
So they were a day delayed. They went to, but he did end up in Italy, and he had a marvelous time. Lots of pictures that I got from other people, because my son is 16 and he's like a 16-year-old boy. I mean, I was a 16-year-old boy. I didn't want to talk to my parents.
Okay.
So the only way I got him to respond to any of our texts or emails or anything was to say, if you don't respond to your mother right now, I'm calling you. He's like, what do you want?
That is the threat of the actual voice call.
Right. But he had a good time. He came back.
Okay.
And the 19-year-old, or I guess he turned 20 over spring break, and from FSU was home, and we had a lovely visit with him. So it's been kind of, other than just constantly dealing with contractors and people coming in and out and doing stuff like that and getting that whole thing sorted, and then some other personal things that I've had going on. Between all of that, it's been a busy couple of weeks.
It's been a time.
Yeah. So what's going on other than your build of your Lego? What's been going on with you?
Not too much to report on the podcast. Yeah, I mean it's all just logistic stuff. Like I've been saying, it is tax season. We've had some medical updates going on. It's also the time of the year when everybody who is in assisted or care home living and everything like that, all of that gets reviewed and renewed as the annual renew time. So I mean it's all just none of this is back-breaking labor and whatever, but it's just little bits of any bit of free time is all kind of taken up right now. That's all it really is. So that's about it.
All right. All right. So what did you watch? Because I basically, we have been watching the SEC Gymnastics competition. I know it's already gone on. It's already done. I could look up who won. Luckily, my algorithm has not figured out that I like to watch gymnastics and hasn't spoiled it for me yet. But so we're still on the session 1, which was the bottom 5 schools of the top 9. I guess that's how it works. So there's session 1 that has 9 through 5 competing against each other and getting a score, or not competing against you. They're all trying to get the highest score.
Sure.
And then the top 4 schools are in session 2. We have not seen that yet. We're still working almost through session 1. It's I love gymnastics. I love watching gymnastics. It's amazing. I spend the whole time going, that's not physically possible.
Yeah.
No one can do that. What are they doing? And first of all, whoever invented the beam as a sport, why do you hate people so much? You're who hurt you? This is insane that they can do what they can do.
And the stuff that athletes are doing today, literally stuff that wasn't done, or the things that high school kids are doing today is stuff that only the absolute top professionals were ever doing, say, a decade ago. It's ridiculous, the advancement.
YouTube and watch the first 10, the first perfect 10 in a gymnastics competition. It was Nadia, whatever her name was, I don't remember. I might be wrong about that too. But you watch it, you're that's nothing. I mean, she's not doing anything. She's just swinging on some bars. I'm it doesn't even look that impressive compared to what they're doing these days, which is, release moves and all these other crazy things. So yes, we've been watching that. We've also started rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I needed some humor in my life. So yes. What about you, Rob? What have you watching?
Yeah, so watched a couple of movies since we talked last, and so these still fit into the Oscars category. Although actually, you know what? The second one doesn't. But Zootopia 2 is one of the movies that I watched, and it was nominated for at least one Oscar. Did not win, but it was nominated in there. So obviously the sequel to Zootopia, and truly a direct sequel. This it picks up immediately after the end of the first Zootopia, even though it's been years and years and years in between these two movies. But thankfully, with animated characters, you're never going to notice anybody aging. So that was an easy way to do it storytelling-wise. So, I mean, simple thing is the original was better than the sequel. I didn't think the sequel was as strong as the first Zootopia, but we're following on with the same very likable characters. Yeah, I mean, the plot in this is slightly more convoluted, and of course, they're doing what you would expect with any animated, anthropomorphic, animal-based theme, which is they're expanding the scope of which animals we're interacting with a little bit in this movie, and going beyond the scope of the first movie, and all of that makes sense. But slightly little convoluted plot here that I didn't think was quite as compelling as the first one, and then. I mean, it's maybe I thought like one tick too cute on the like really focusing on I guess I would just say like mental health aspect of it. Like it just it went like one tick too far for my personal taste. And I mean it was played for a bit of humor in that, but I thought it maybe went slightly overboard on that side of things. And then they're definitely leaning into the whole gosh, how do we talk about this tastefully? But like, people found the anthropomorphic animal characters attractive. they're kind of leaning into that a little bit and playing with the audience.
Well, I don't know that if I think that's a good idea. To be honest with you there.
So yeah, it was some interesting quirks to this movie, and but I mean, honestly, my biggest criticism, putting all of that aside, is. It just goes too fast. There's so much detail on screen, and it's gorgeous stuff. Beautiful, beautiful animation. Fantastic graphics and drawings that have been done here and everything, but like it's going by so fast you just can't see it. So I mean, it's meant to be watched multiple times in that sense. And this is certainly one you could step through it frame by frame to try and pick out everything. They even talk about how like one of the scenes is a big concert that's going on, and they're like they had 50,000 unique characters on screen for this. Like
that
they didn't
seems like a lot.
They didn't do just a copy paste job of like here's a bunch of sheep and we just kind of copy paste them, and that's where they're like, nope, every single character was individually animated. I'm like, well, that's just overboard. I mean, it was literally on screen for a couple of seconds, and it's just like the amount of work that went into that. I'm like, I appreciate it, but it's kind of gone so quickly that you can't appreciate it while you're watching it. You would have to go frame by frame just to pick up any of that stuff. So it's almost like just take a breath, just pump the brakes, take it, which I thought the first movie did a better job of. I thought a lot of the humor and jokes landed better in Zootopia 1 because they were willing to just like take a moment to breathe sometimes and like actually let the joke land and let you sit in it and laugh for a moment before rapidly moving on to the next thing. The second one is just go, and it's the puns you don't get a chance to laugh at it because they're on to the next one. It's really it's like Robin Williams in his manic phase at points, so it's kind of like, okay, we could have taken a moment there. So that was Zootopia 2. It's still gorgeous to look at, sounds fantastic, it is very enjoyable, but the first one was better. And then speaking of sequels that were not as good as the first part, Wicked for Good is the other one I watched, which is very much a part 2. This movie does not stand on its own at all.
Okay.
And so really, if you have the time to spare, you should watch Wicked Part 1 and Wicked for Good back to back, immediately one after the other. I mean, it is an adaptation of the Broadway musical, which you do not see on two separate days or with a year in between them. Yeah, there is an intermission, which is, where the break is between Wicked Part 1 and Wicked for Good is where the intermission is in the Broadway musical. So there is that little break there, but you are meant to see the whole thing in one sitting, and that is kind of the only way that Wicked for Good works. So I can see why, if anybody is scoring or reviewing this movie as a standalone movie, it just absolutely does not work. It is a part 2 in every sense.
It's almost like that picks up in the middle of a sentence, huh?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and so the thing is, as was the case with the Broadway musical, the songs in the second half are just nowhere near as strong as the songs that are in the first half. And then in the Broadway musical, many of the musical numbers are reprises, which is not unusual in a Broadway musical, but many of them are. And so Wicked for Good, the movie adaptation, they tried to avoid that. They have the absolutely unavoidable reprises, but they eliminate one big reprise that opens the Broadway musical and replace that with a song that comes a little bit later. And then they actually introduced 2 brand new songs that were not in the Broadway musical whatsoever. And I actually thought they were the 2 strongest songs in Wicked for Good, other than the highlight of the second half, which is the song For Good. I mean, that's the important one. But yeah, it's tough for me to criticize this, because what are you to do when you are adapting the Broadway musical? Do you try to remain very, very faithful to it, in which case the second half of the Broadway musical is nowhere near as strong as the first half, and that's kind of the case here.
Is it really like the first half of the actual musical itself was the first movie? They stretched that whole out to
the same length as the entire Broadway musical, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because they did reinsert some stuff from the book that the Broadway musical completely omits, and then they just elongated many scenes that are much, much faster in the Broadway musical than they are in the movie.
You can certainly, like, if you've ever seen a musical at all, they truncate a lot of the relationship stuff that happens between the characters, because they're trying, they have to fit the whole thing into time, but also on top of that, it's really about the songs. So that's right. There's not a whole lot of acting that needs to happen. You just need to, somebody sees somebody betraying them, and then they confront them, and then they sing a song, and then they during the song they make up, and then and
you don't have the grand sweeping establishing shots in the Broadway musical, which, look, I have no criticism of them having added that to the movie, because they are fantastic in the Wicked movies. So the other thing that you could do in a scenario like Wicked for Good is you could change it quite a bit, right? You could try to improve upon the Broadway musical and change it substantially. So it's like, but you're between a rock and a hard place, right? Because if you stay very faithful, but the original source material the second half just wasn't as strong as the first half, well, that's what's going to happen to your movie. Or if you change it, then the people who were big fans of the Broadway musical are going to say, like, why did you change it so much? You're stuck when you're trying to do that. So, I thought the addition of the 2 brand new songs was a darn good thing, because it actually made this movie version superior to the Broadway musical, in my opinion. But it still is following it closely enough that all the criticisms you might have of the second half of the Broadway musical still apply here. Chief among them is the second half of Wicked overlaps with the original Wizard of Oz movie. So everything that happens in the Wizard of Oz happens in the second half of Wicked. But when it came out as a Broadway musical, they're like, well, we're not going to actually show you like any of what happened in the Wizard of Oz. You just need to know. You need to know the Wizard of Oz, and we're just going to have little allusions to it and asides, so that you're like, okay, this is where Wicked that we're seeing on stage is now lining up with the Wizard of Oz. And they do that in this movie as well. And I'm like, as a movie, it doesn't work. It was a criticism of the stage play to begin with, but now as a movie, I'm like, we needed to see at least little snippets of some of the scenes, because it just feels narratively incomplete, and it feels like we jumped over huge portions of what we are seeing that you can only fill in if you remember the Wizard of Oz, which is, that's going way back now.
Well, don't we all kind of, maybe I'm being a Gen Xer right now by saying, don't we all really know the story of the Wizard of Oz?
I think as a movie adaptation where they're free to expand the running time, like, it's not as though I literally need to see all of the Wizard of Oz replayed out, but like some little scenes, like what happens with the character of the Scarecrow is like, we needed something in this movie for the emotional impact of the end of Wicked, the movie, to work. We needed to see some little nuggets of what takes place in The Wizard of Oz with the Scarecrow, and it's just like, well, that just isn't in this movie whatsoever, just like it wasn't in the stage play. But that was a criticism of the play as well, is that it didn't feel entirely complete, as a narrative. And so, yeah, it's dealing with all of that. Like the singing is still fantastic. Ariana Grande still is a standout in this and provides basically all of the humor. The second half is much darker and much more dissonant tones in the songs. And
where she kind of not goes evil, but she gets betrayed and
minor key and all of those types of things. So all of it just isn't as bright and fun and lively as the first half. So it has that working on it too. But yeah, everybody's giving it their all. And where I thought it didn't make sense that Wicked for Good got completely snubbed at the Oscars, it didn't get a single nomination, which is crazy because Wicked Part 1 got several nominations. And I'm just like, okay, maybe you're not nominating it for Best Picture. I agree. I don't think it is the Best Picture of the year or really needed to be amongst those nominees. But the production design, the costumes, the makeup, the hair, I'm like, how did that not get nominated? How did it not even get a mention? And I mean, maybe it's because Wicked Part 1 and Wicked for Good were made simultaneously, like made, back to back, if you want to say, but it was all made as one big gigantic movie and then just post-produced and released a year apart. And so maybe they're just like, well, we gave it the nominations for Part 1 and Part 2 was like, it's a continuation. For Good is a continuation. It's not its own completely standalone movie, but it's just like, it was kind of wild to me that production design, if nothing else, didn't get a nomination because it is outstanding on that front.
You got to remember that the same thing happened with Lord of the Rings. They barely got anything for the first two parts, and then won everything in Part 3 because they knew it was after they saw the first one. I'm like, they filmed them all at the same time. It's all going to be like this. So if it's all going to be like this, if we give it to the first one, we either have to snub the next two, or we'll just wait to the end and give them everything they deserve. Then
I guess so. Yeah,
and that's usually what happens in these sorts of situations. Where there's not going to be like large gaps of time between Part 1 and Part 2 because sometimes movies are made and they don't know that they're going to be able to do a Part 2. They just hope that they'll be able to do a Part 2. Like, I don't know that Star Wars was ever meant to have sequels or trilogies or whatever. In his mind, he said that he had this whole thing laid out as a trilogy. Right. But we all know, based on interviews and later things and stuff like that, that his idea of what the trilogy was going to be and what actually ended up on the screen are two completely different things.
That's right, yeah.
So, we've all got ideas for what our stories or our books or our movies or music is going to do, and if it only happens if you get the opportunity to do it, and even then, who knows if it'll come out the way that you planned in the beginning. So,
but yeah, ultimately, I would say that ideally, if you can manage it, watch Wicked Part 1 and Wicked for Good all continuously as one big movie, as it is meant to be, because I don't think Wicked for Good honestly stands particularly strongly all on its own. That's where I land on.
All right, we've wasted enough time talking about this nonsense. Yeah. Let's get on to the podcast here. So this is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. To get your questions answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. You can come to our website, check out our shows, our show notes, our Flickr albums to follow along with the pictures that we'll be talking about here or referencing. There's also older shows with Flickr albums and stuff. And then in the show notes, you always find links to the products or articles that we refer to or that we're recommending that you check out. So those are all there for you. None of those are affiliate links because I am too lazy to put in affiliate links, and Rob doesn't have access to that. So
I mean, there has been an affiliate link the past couple of weeks, incling this one. There'll be one coming up, but a very specific one. Yes, that's right.
They asked us to do that. So Sofabaton. Okay, yeah. So you can find us at facebook.com/AVRant podcast, youtube.com/AVRant, where the pictures will be integrated into the video of us just talking to each other.
That's right. Hello.
Our little talking heads are very low production
dynamic.
value. So very dynamic. Contact Rob directly, rob@avrant.com. His socials is @FirstReflect. I think we're both sort of off socials these days, pretty much.
It's really just blue sky for me.
Yeah. And I only know that Blue Sky exists because every once in a while Rob reposts the auto post that comes from my my account.
That's what it is.
And I'm Tom at AVRant.com. Like I said, I'm not doing socials anymore. All right, listeners of the week. To become a listener of the week, support the podcast in some way. One of the ways you can do that is go into AVRant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and send us a PayPal donation. And this week we had Dan do that. Thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah, Dan, thanks so much for that PayPal donation. We really appreciate that financial support.
And it's the end of the month right now, so this number is going to change. But if you want to support us monthly, go to patreon.com/AVRant podcast, where you can sign up to be a monthly contributor. We currently have 119 patrons over at patreon.com. Again, it's the beginning of the month by the time you're hearing this, so you will... if your credit card number has expired or changed or anything, you'll have to go in there and update that. So 119 patrons currently. Thank you very much.
Yes, as of the time of the recording, that is once again patreon.com/AVRant podcast if you'd like to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So big thanks to our 119 patrons over there right this moment.
We also got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going from J. Karl and Adam. So thank you, J. Karl and Adam. Must have a
That's right. Number. Yeah, I'll say the names one more time. We got J. Karl and we got Adam this week. So thanks so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. What was that?
Two questions down here, I guess, because this is usually when people send in questions, they're like, "Oh, by the way, thanks."
Not
you
always
get mentioned at the top, anyway.
But quite often, sometimes, yeah. Like I said, it's been a slow email week, but yeah, J. Karl and Adam, thanks so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. Really appreciate them, and a big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
They're starting to thaw out up north there. You guys,
it's true.
So sun starts to come out and snow starts to melt or whatever happens to you people. In the news, as promised, our friend and occasional guest co-host Joe Klusnick, took part in Brightside Home Theater's panel discussion, whatever. I've never heard of this podcast, by the way. Discussion on image quality with fellow guests Joe Silver, John Thompson, and Andre Floyd. Yeah. If you'd like to check out the 2.5-hour discussion, we'll have the link in our show notes. So check that out. It's a YouTube link, so you can go check that out.
That's right. Yeah. You'll want to see the video version of that one. It makes more sense to watch it that way. And yeah, if the running time is too long, you just increase that playback speed. That's the trick.
There you go. We're in the news still? Wow. I've already lost my place.
Lots of news.
Joe Klusnick sent in some news for us that Kaleidescape is celebrating their 25th anniversary. They posted a video on their homepage of their website featuring Hollywood professionals praising Kaleidescape's audio and video quality and ease of use. And it's so funny to me when we have, celebrities do stuff like this, because there's no world in which I think these people actually have ever touched the product, whatever it is.
This one I believe, like most of the people that were in this little, praising testimonial were like editors and mixing engineers and stuff like that. So I genuinely believe they have listened to their Kaleidescape system.
I would still be surprised. I'll tell you what, the bicycle that sounds the worst is the mechanic's bike, because he's like, I'm not touching mine. I have to touch yours. So, but whatever. And over on their Kaleidescape store, they put together a collection of 24 movies and one season of Game of Thrones to highlight one offering from each year that they've been in business. So, I guess the entire game. Hopefully, it wasn't the last season of Game of Thrones.
Nope. But it was season 1. It was the premiere season. So, the prices that are listed. Actually, you know what? Somehow the capture that I did is showing the Canadian prices rather than the American prices. So, what you're seeing on there for prices is would not apply to the U.S. prices. Those are the Canadian prices, which I thought I had screen captured the American prices. But anyway, they didn't do a thing where it's just like purchase the entire 25 title bundle for one price. They just
$25 a piece is what it looks like.
Some of them are. Those are the Canadian prices. Most of those are $19.99 American. So.
Are they? Because this doesn't. I'm looking at. I went to the link. Is that? And the link is.
Yep. Doesn't
say anything about being Canadian. It just says .com.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on there. But anyway, some of them are discounted at like $9.99 for the title. But they didn't do a thing that I was kind of expecting, which is just like, hey, here's a 25 movie bundle. Click once and purchase all of them. They just curated this together and like, here's one movie from each year that we've been in business. It's kind of distressing that Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, whichever title is in your region, is like that's the earliest. That's when Kaleidescape began. I'm like, oh, that was 25 years ago now. was the first Harry Potter movie. So it makes me feel old.
Yeah. That can happen. It happens to me all the time. Another week, another major price increase for gamers. This time it's the PlayStation 5, which will be seeing a large price increase on all of its console models starting April 2nd. They won't do April 1st for fear that people will think it's a joke.
That was very much commented. They're like, yeah, are people going to believe this if they announce this for April 1st? So April 2nd, these are real. These price increases are genuinely happening.
The base PS5 Slim Digital Edition with no disk drive goes up $100 to $600. That's with a 825 gigabytes solid-state drive inside. 825 is a weird number, but whatever. Yep. And the lowest entry point for the current PS5 console, which is, again, $600.
$600.
The PS5 Slim with a disk drive also goes up $100, so there'll be $650, and it has a terabyte solid-state drive. Mm-hmm. The PS5 Pro goes up $150, so now it costs $900.
Yeah.
That's a computer. Come on.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for all the data miners and whatever it is that AI uses to make things more expensive.
I mean, it's the RAM right now. That's what everyone's going crazy about is RAM.
Yeah. Anyways, it comes with a 2 terabyte solid-state drive, but no disk drive. So Sony did not announce a price increase on the add-on disk drive, so presumably that'll still be $80, but we'll see.
Which means, if you get a PlayStation 5 Pro with the disk drive, you're $20 shy of $1,000 for a PlayStation. I mean, that's wild.
We're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're raising the prices this much. Do you think they can believe that they're raising the prices this much, or do you think they're like, we have to raise the prices this much? We've been losing money, or for years because we haven't been able to raise our prices but now somebody finally broke the dam and started the leak of this, and now we're all finally able to start making money or losing less money on these consoles.
No, but it's just like we're 5 years into this console generation. Yeah. We've never had a console.
It's weird to have the prices go after 5 years,
and not just a little bit. $150 more expensive, and that was already $50 more than when the PS5 Pro first came out, when it was brand new at launch, and then August of last year. So it was August of last year. It's not even a full year since the last price increase. So August of last year, it went up $50. Now it's going up another $150 to $900 for the PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, that's just, I don't know. I don't know who's buying that. That's crazy.
Anyways, PS, I never did that. And finally, the PlayStation Portal goes up $50. What is the PlayStation Portal? So it goes up to $250.
Yeah, that is their basically take a PlayStation 5 controller, cut it in half, and put a big screen in between it. Now, originally when it came out, all the PlayStation Portal could do was stream a game that is actively playing on your own PlayStation 5 console, right? So it's attached to your own home network, and you could go play it in the bedroom or in the bathroom or something like that, or somebody else is using the TV and you're sitting beside them on the living room couch, but you can play your PlayStation 5 game on your PlayStation Portal. That's all it could do, was home network streaming when it first came out. Later on, they updated it to be able to stream games that are like the game streaming from the cloud thing, which is what people always thought the PlayStation Portal was going to be when it first launched, and were kind of taken aback when it wasn't that at launch, but now it is. Now you can play cloud streaming games on your PlayStation Portal, so that's essentially what it's for, but it's going to be $250 now instead of $200.
Okay. Very exciting. So naturally, Sony is pointing to price increases on the components and the global economy in general, stating, with continued pressures in the global economic landscape, just speak English. Just stop it. We've made the decision to increase the prices of a PS5, PS5 Pro, and the PlayStation Portal remote player globally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't just U.S. price increases. Yeah, as you were seeing in the screenshots that I was putting up there, there's new prices for Europe and for UK, and the price increases are going up all over the place. Canadian prices are insane. The PlayStation 5 Pro is, $1,100 or something. It's nuts.
Yeah. What did I do? We know that the price changes impact our community, and after careful evaluation, we found that we don't care. No, we found it was a necessary step to ensure that we can continue delivering innovative, high-quality gaming experience to players worldwide, end quote. Liars? But this is the problem I have. I have continually seen video game console manufacturers buy up game studios and then ruin them over and over and over again in order to try to increase profits. And they do that by taking a studio that's made a game that was phenomenal, and they're like, okay, we're going to buy you. You're going to have full autonomy. You guys are going to be able to make whatever you want as long as you make a grindy, loot box laden passport game that you have to continually buy stuff in. As long as you'll do that, then you guys can have full autonomy to make whatever you want, and then everybody leaves. So I just don't quite understand, what happens between the ground floor where people are doing the thing and then the top end. There's such a focus on that quick grab of money to get get to the shareholders and the stake, the stock market or whatever, to get that money as quickly as possible and to continually make more of it. Like, it's never okay to just be like, we've been profitable this year. Oh, great.
Right. Yeah.
What about next year? Well, it's looking like we're going to be profitable again. Will you make more money next year? Probably not. We'll probably make about the same. How is that not okay? How is that not how it's supposed to work? Like, I have a business that makes money every year. Like, it doesn't have to make more money because there's a finite amount of customers in the world. And we see this over and over again.
The line has to be a continually accelerating upward graph, or else the stock goes down. Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks, Slay the Spire 2 has released, which Slay the Spire is a card-based game that kind of revolutionized the card-based video game industry. So it's not a tabletop game. It's a video game that's card-based. If you haven't heard of it, how have you not heard of Slay the Spire? But if you haven't, check it out. It's really, really good. It's made by just a handful of people, I believe. They may have more now, but I thought it was just two people, but it may be more at this point. And they've taken years to release this thing, and it's just a good game. That's all it is. There's no, you have to buy more stuff. There's no skins to buy. There's no, multiplayer mode. There's a multiplayer mode, but it's not multiplayer against each other. It's like a co-op mode. For real? Yep. What is the deal? Sirens. So why can't they just say, hey, you know what? Halo was good. Let's make another Halo and make that same money again. And then make another Halo that's also good and just a standalone game.
I mean, they did. Then, the first three were quite good. Then it went off the rails. And so whenever they're saying we have to do this no, you do this because you continually buy up, spend money on buying things and then ruining them. And then they don't make money for you and you're surprised. You ruined Seemingly.
it.
Yeah. No, when you're saying it was for the quick buck, that's not even true because, they buy a studio that did release like 3 games in 5 years, and then it's like 8 years before that studio's next game sees the light of day. So it's not even the quick buck. And then because games are taking so long to develop now, in the upper echelons, right? Like the studios that Sony and Microsoft themselves are buying out, they're buying them in order to make so-called AAA or now quadruple A games.
Whatever.
Which is, how they're referring to them. And it's like, well, because those take so darn long to make, it's like they're always chasing the trend, right? Like you're gonna go ahead and release your battle royale game now, like you've missed the trend by so many years that of course the thing fails. Or now you're gonna release your game as a service, free to play with all the microtransactions. Like people have moved on. Like even Fortnite is starting to wind down now, right? It's just like those things. they don't last forever, and if all you're ever doing is chasing what's popular right now as you begin production of the game, it's like 5 to 8 years from now you're not going to be in that trend anymore. So yeah, it's a bizarre way of doing things, but anyway, it all seems to be crumbling down. We the consumers get to pay a whole lot more if we want to continue on with it, and hooray for us.
Yeah, we're all going to play games on our phone. That's what it comes down to. It's really sad because I think consoles it's a big part of my childhood, and it's a big part of a lot of people's personal lives right now, and it's a shame to see it go away.
And everyone's just bracing themselves like, when is the Switch 2 price increase going to come? Because it's they're not immune to the RAM and the SSD shortages or Nintendo. So yeah, it seems like everyone's just preparing themselves for that price increase too.
Lastly, in the news, I haven't had a chance to comment on the latest firmware updates to the Sofabaton X2 until now. So the software V7 for the X2 hub and remote brought some much-needed improvements. So Rob and I will discuss how we feel about the current state of the X2 remote. So I actually hit Rob up with a text. I was like, I just uploaded got an update to the X2. I don't know why. I was just sitting there. I was like, I haven't opened this app in a while. Let me open it. And I opened it, and I was like, let me see if there's an update. And there was. And I updated. I was like, wait a second. They've changed some stuff. So the big change that I noticed right away is that you don't have to wake the remote up anymore.
Right. Which was a thing that when the X1 came out, and it didn't change until the X1S, but when the X1 came out, it was a thing of, if you want to say increase the volume or decrease the volume, you had to press the button once to just wake the remote, and then the second press is when the volume actually begins to change. And that was like the number one request, and they did update the X1S so that the first time that you press the volume button, whether the remote is awake or not, it begins changing the volume. And for some reason, the X2, when it launched, had the original thing where you press it once and it just wakes the remote, and then you have to press it a second time to actually make the command go. And now, after the V7 update, you press the button the first time, and whether the remote was awake or not to begin with, it changes the volume right away. Yes.
So that's the big thing that I've noticed that it's better at. Okay. So that was the thing that bothered me more than anything, because especially if I'm sitting there trying to pause something, because Slay the Spire 2 just came out, so I'm watching people play Slay the Spire 2, and I sometimes need to read the cards, and they get off the screen too fast, so I'm pressing pause to try to read the card so I know what the card does. So when I inevitably buy the game, which I will, not that I'll play it, because I tend not to, but I will buy. I have Slay the Spire 1 on my phone, and I only play it when I'm on a plane. That's how often I play it, and not even that much. But I'm trying to press pause, and I'll miss it because you have to wake it up. This is much better. The downside. This is so I've only really noticed 2 things, maybe 3 things about this thing that have been changed. I don't know what other changes they've made, but
I'll say the other big improvement that I noticed for sure is that when you are setting up the remote, so the way this one works is that everything is done on the app. So it's either on your phone or your tablet. That's where you make all the changes to the programming of the X2 remote. And it does the thing where, let's say I'm just changing some of the buttons or the order of the buttons on a device. What it would do is you make that change, and then without you pressing any like synchronize button or anything like that, as soon as you have clicked confirm, yes, this is the change I want to make, it communicates with the hub and the remote and makes that update. And there's a little bit of waiting time while it does that synchronization. Sure. And then when you create your activities and make any changes in your activities, then similar thing. As soon as you hit confirm, it automatically does the upload. So it's not like the old desktop Harmony software where you could make a whole bunch of changes and then do a single synchronization that would do everything all in one go. This one does the synchronization every time you click confirm. Well, that is still the same process, but that synchronization is faster now. They improved the speed of the synchronization, and that is very noticeable and obviously an improvement that has no downsides to it at all. It's just faster in its syncs. Yeah.
So I didn't notice that because I haven't reset up on remote.
Made changes.
Yeah, I haven't made any changes. Though I will be, because my son has, when he came back from Italy, he now has friends that he wants to play Xbox with. And so he dug out the Xbox, which apparently lived through the flood. It was high enough, I guess, and it was in a box someplace. It lost a power cord, but I found one, so
that's replaceable.
So yes, the Xbox One S is now going to be back in play once he buys a remote control, because those look like ruined. But the big downside I've noticed is that the battery dies a lot faster now.
Yeah.
But not only that, the little battery light, the little battery indicator on the top of the remote is unchanging. It only displays basically full constantly. And then on the screen, you'll pop up, it'll say, you're at 20% battery. And I'll look at the remote and I'm like, that's not what this says. But so yes, the battery dies much faster now. So
I think there's two parts of that, which is number one, they increase the number of optional steps for the brightness of the screen. So
yeah.
Normally you would notice if it's, but I mean, I think just by default, it's brighter than it used to be. And you have to go back in. This one you don't have to do in the app. This you do on the remote directly itself on its screen. You can lower the brightness. And now there are more steps available. So you can more finely tune the brightness of the screen. So that's, nice. But if you don't check that right away, I think that's killing the battery a little faster. And then I think because of the always on connection where you press the button once, whether the remote was awake or not, and the command is automatically sent, I think that is largely responsible for that lower battery life because it is just constantly in communication with the hub now rather than waiting to be awakened. So yeah, that's, I think, what's responsible for that.
Yeah,
that's my
so
guess.
Too. And honestly, for me, it's a worthwhile trade-off. I just put it back on the cradle. Before I was just leaving it out for days on end.
Yeah, it's not like it dies within a day. It's just that rather than lasting 2 weeks, it's lasting like 3-4 days now.
Yeah. Which I think is I would like the battery indicator to work on the thing, though.
I'm sure that will get updated in the next update. I have really no fears of that.
Yeah, but other than that, it's doing well. And I'm really happy with it. I continue to be. My biggest complaint with the remote was that I had to press a button to wake it up.
Yep.
If they're going to continue to make changes, the next change they need to make is that the screen has a lock option to it, so that if you are going to, because most of the time you're just using the buttons to control it anyways, right? And the screen itself oftentimes will wake up if you move the remote because it has an accelerometer in there someplace, or if you press a button. And I have found that I continually hit that back button, which gets me out of the activity, and then my buttons on the remote don't work
That's
anymore.
interesting. That hasn't been happening to me, but that's interesting.
That happens to me all the time. And it's because I'm fat fingering the thing, I guess. I don't really know. Or I'm sliding my hand down the remote to grab it.
It's something about the way that you happen to grip the remote that I don't. I mean, that's not any kind of intentional choice on either of our ports. That's just purely the way we instinctively hold the remote for some reason.
So the remote itself, to me, is not as ergonomic as it could be. I've said that before. I think it's a little slippery in general. A little bit
smooth and uniform in its shape the entire way.
I would like a finger catch someplace on the back, but you can't change that with the firmware update. But you can change the option of having a lock screen so that you have to unlock it in order to control the front. Because I would turn that on. I think the option of not default, or the only thing, it's always like, some people won't want that. They'll want to pick up the remote and be able to press the button, press the screen, and won't have the same problem I do. But that's about the only thing that I would like to see them add to this.
And then, of course, people have been requesting that when you do press a button on the touch screen, that you get some sort of haptic force feedback. Sofabaton has said they're looking into that because, I mean, it seems like something that might be doable because when you slide to start an activity, you get the little vibration.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so it's not that it can only respond to hard buttons. Like the other time it vibrates is when you click the off button, but that's a hard button. But it's like, it does respond when you start an activity. That's for sure. And that is done entirely on the touch screen. So the notion that you could do some kind of software update where you have the choice of when I press any button on that touch screen, give me a little buzz, seems like it might be possible. And so Baton has said they're looking into that. So that might be the next one.
Comments from listener, because we only have one. Jay Karl says he heard my updates about the plumbing in my house a little too late to offer this advice beforehand, but just in case it somehow comes in handy in the future or somebody else right now, rather than exploring via jackhammer, plumbing leaks can often be detected using ultrasonic scanners. Okay, so the guy who came in here used a thermal scanner as
infrared,
well as a sonic scanner. He had like this little weird headphone thing, and he put like this thing on the ground in order to do that. Problem is that where you hear the water flowing and where the actual leak isn't always the same spot. Like it sort of it moves. Anyways, so not all plumbers, he says, J. Karl, not all plumbers and contractors stay up to date or willing to spend the money on newer equipment, but if you're hiring your contractors yourself, you can ask them beforehand what detection methods they use. If they don't mention sending a camera down the drain pipe, which was not our issue, and we already had, when we had our house, when we bought our house, it was, we had that done on the drain pipes.
Scoped out.
Or using infrared cameras and ultrasonic and acoustic scanners to find leaks in pipe locations, or using tracer gas with detection sensors, maybe find someone who does. So, this was this leak detection company was highly recommended. In fact, even the inspector who came to inspect the pipes afterwards was like, they're one of the best ones in the area.
And I didn't know about that. They did do the acoustic scanning, but they
did.
They did, and it still didn't help. So there you go.
Well, I mean, it gets you close. I mean, that's the whole thing, right?
But ultimately, you did jackhammer up that floor, and it didn't actually get to it. So.
It didn't. But there was definitely water there. You know what I mean? Because the hole filled up. After they. So he was close. He was not wrong. Dear. And he's like, they were like, okay, it's somewhere around here, but we're pretty sure it's going to be impossible to fix without, permanently. Anyways, so some questions here. I'm going to start with Mase. First of all, Mase just wanted to share that thanks to one of our suggestions. He checked out the BenQ W4000i projector and wound up buying it and loving it. Now he's wondering if he should buy a Sofabaton X2 remote. He's still using a Harmony Hub-based remote. He used it along with Google Home and Alexa for certain functions, but it's getting a bit unreliable now, and he's on the lookout for a replacement. The one thing holding him back from the X2 is it does not appear to have a microphone. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure that is correct.
Indeed, yeah. There is no microphone on the X2 itself. That is the case.
What is this?
I don't know.
There's a screw sitting here.
Okay.
He still uses his NVIDIA Shield, and several of its functions are most easily handled via voice commands. Mm-hmm. The X2 doesn't have a mic. Are there other options or workarounds to be able to continue using the voice commands on his NVIDIA Shield? If he were to remove the Shield from his system and therefore no longer have access to his voice remote and microphone, what other ways of using voice commands with the Sofabaton X2 are available? I think the easiest thing to do would just put a Echo or a Google Nest thingy in your room with you. Because I'm pretty sure those work, right, with the Sofabaton.
So the Sofabaton X2,
you have to usually what do you have to do? You have to tell Alexa to tell the Sofa. Like you can't just say, turn on my TV. You have to say, Alexa, tell the Sofabaton to turn on the TV or something like that.
Yeah. So the X2 does have integration with Google Home and Amazon Alexa, but it is limited in its scope right now. What you can do is after you've set up activities, you can get your Google Home or Alexa device to run an activity. But that is it. So there's not like individual commands, and it's not even like individual device control. It has to be an activity. You can go through the process of creating many activities.
Right.
And then, yes, you wouldn't have just a built-in, so there's no built-in microphone on the X2 or on its hub. You would need to bring an Echo for Alexa or a Google Home Assistant device of some type, their home speaker or something like that, into the room so that you could speak to that to give your voice commands, and then you would have to tell the voice assistant to tell your Sofabaton X2 to run whatever activity you've set up to basically do a single command on your NVIDIA Shield. So it's a pretty janky workaround. And then when you're just using the X2 in your hand and scrolling through your list of activities, there's no way to hide all of these like single command activities. You're going to have this big long list of activities that aren't actually full activities. They're just the workaround for being able to get it to work with the voice assistant. So it's not exactly what I would call the slickest way of doing it that way. It
was kind of similar when Harmony first came out, though, with their stuff. You had to do the same sort of thing. You had to tell, but I felt like you had control of individual commands.
Gosh, I never set that up, so I don't remember.
Well, I remember my parents having to do it because they used theirs, and so they would have to say, Alexa, tell the Harmony to turn on the TV,
Yeah.
And then that activity would run.
It would definitely
I think
do that.
eventually that got clearer and the integration was better. So this feels very eerily similar to when Harmony first came out. So if you're like, well, that's just, I mean, Harmony's way better. Well, Harmony had years to work it out before this, and this just came out. So give them and they're still working on getting the battery indicator to work correctly. So, give them a break.
No,
but
just,
this does feel very much like when Harmony first released.
Yeah, specifically with the NVIDIA Shield, like one thing that I absolutely prefer to use, the hold down the little microphone button on the NVIDIA Shield's own remote and just say it in voice is if I want to skip forward or back in something that I'm watching. That works so much better via voice command on the NVIDIA Shield because I can literally just hold that mic button down and say skip forward 2 minutes and 33 seconds, and it'll do exactly that, right? And so trying to do that via this workaround with a Google Home or Alexa device with the X2. I mean, there's no way you're going to create every activity for every minute and second combination that you might want to skip forward or back. So it's just not going to be as smooth as that. You could definitely create an activity that says, skip forward 30 seconds rather than pressing the button. Absolutely you could do that, but you're not going to have the granularity that you get with the full-on voice control with the NVIDIA Shield's own remote with that little microphone button. So the other workaround with the X2 is that it does have integration with Home Assistant. So right. Home Assistant is like the third-party software. This has to be running on a PC server connected to your network in your house. That that computer's just on and running Home Assistant at all times. And so Home Assistant, really is a DIY home integration, home automation kind of dream. That's what everybody, almost everybody ends up using when they're doing DIY home automation. But I mean, what Home Assistant can do is basically take any input from any device that is connected to it and send any output to any device that is connected to it. And then you can have automation routines that run in conjunction with that. So via Home Assistant and your time and effort to program it, you can definitely get it where, it's just responding to voice commands that, again, you'd need an Echo or a Google Home speaker or something like that in the room, but where it just responds to your commands there and then sends individual commands to the X2 hub. You can do that, but it's all manual programming on your part to do it. So it's how much time and effort do you want to put into it? If you don't already know Home Assistant, there's definitely a learning curve to using Home Assistant. I don't personally use it, so I don't have the guidance on everything there. But yeah, I mean, it's tremendously powerful, but it's a lot of programming.
Find somebody on Reddit or whatever who has already done this, and then you just ask them for their code.
But I mean, that would be the major workaround. So, I mean, the alternative is you do still just have two remotes, right? You have the X2 to do all of your activities and control the vast majority of your devices, but specifically when you're using the NVIDIA Shield, you still pick up its little remote, and so that you have that microphone button that's just so easy to press and talk to and release, and now you're ready to go.
I know we didn't say this earlier when we were talking about the X2, but I feel like the lag is lower now between the button press and the Apple TV 4K, which is my main source. Okay. I feel like the lag is lower. I might be imagining that, and that might just be
maybe. I mean, they're always looking to improve that, and like I say, the synchronization definitely got faster. So it wouldn't surprise me if they've sped it up.
I feel like that's the case. Yeah. I felt like when I first started using it, the lag was like intolerable compared to using the regular remote for the Apple TV 4K. And I felt like it got better after this. I could be wrong.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it is genuinely better. They are definitely always trying to improve that.
Jason has, if you guys were watching YouTube and you saw me disappear, I smelled something.
Oh.
And I knew I had a candle burning in the other room, I freaked out for a second. I ran over there to blow that candle out. So that's why I disappeared for a second. I was like, whoa, what's that? Also, my wife burned a towel the other day because she threw a towel on top of a candle. She got mad at me for leaving the candle lit. I was like, okay, whatever. Jason has an Onkyo TX-RZ70 receiver and a pair of SVS PB2000 subs. He would like to add a ButtKicker LFE tactile transducer to a setup, and he's trying to figure out the best way to hook it all up. He's using DRAC Live, and he paid for the bass control upgrade. So he's using both subwoofer outputs on his RZ70 and feeding one subwoofer from each. He already owns a mini DSP 2x4 HG, but he hasn't been using it since getting the RZ70 and DRAC Live bass control. Will he need to reintroduce this into his system to handle the addition of the ButtKicker LFE? If so, what is the connection path and the order of operations? Because his head is kind of swimming trying to figure out if he should actually connect both of his subs to the mini DSP, not directly to the RZ70. Should he even be using both of the RZ70 subwoofer outputs or just one of them? Should he feed both subs from one of the RZ70 sub outs and then feed the ButtKicker LFE from the other? He's willing to put the work in the work to optimize all of it, but he needs our help to clarify how it should all work first. Can we help? So it's the bass control upgrade is where I am.
That is crucial in this consideration, is that he has paid for and is using that DRAC Live bass control upgrade.
So if it were me,
okay,
because I do not know, because I have not done any research. I read this question for the very first time just now. So the difference between the two outputs on the subwoofer, the two different subwoofer outputs, supposedly, I guess, assumingly, if there was a difference between the two of them, it was the bass control, DRAC Live bass control would be creating that difference, right? So what you would need to do is pick one, and then introduce the DRAC. I mean the
mini
what do you
DSP?
call it? Mini DSP to it, and then send the unadulterated signal that's coming from your receiver to your subwoofer, and then for the second a second output, you would have to take away whatever the room correction is doing to that bass control, which you can do with Room EQ Wizard and all of that.
Yeah.
And then feed that to your tactile transducer. It would not technically matter which one you chose to do this with. Now, even if DRAC Live bass control isn't sending unique signals to both, which it may not be, I don't know, this would still work. So that's, I do think you have to use the mini DSP. I might be wrong. And I think that's how you have to do it, is just pick one and invert the room correction, or disable the room correction with the mini DSP. So I'm in agreement with that connection signal path. I'm just going to expand on the explanation a little bit. Since you are running DRAC Live bass control, you want to continue using both subwoofer outputs on your RZ70. That's kind of the only way that you're really getting the benefit of what that can do, because DRAC Live bass control is sending different signals to sub 1 versus sub 2. DRAC Live bass control is like DRAC's version of the multi-sub optimizer, so it is sending different phase information, different delay information, different level information. I don't think it's sophisticated enough, like the RZ70 I'm talking about, not bass control itself, but the RZ70. I don't think it's sophisticated enough to actually send unique equalization curves, but it is doing independent delays, phase, and levels for sure. So you don't want to take that away. So what we can eliminate is the idea that we're going to use just one subwoofer output, which you often hear us recommend. That's what we do. But when you have processing like multi-sub optimizer or DRAC Live bass control, you do want genuinely different signals going to your different subwoofers, because it's not a case where it's treating them as one, but then you're manually putting in different things and then it's recombining them or something like that. And you want to avoid that by only using one sub out. In this case, it's actually measuring them independently and calculating beforehand what the differences to sub 1 should be versus sub 2. So you want to retain that. That means you don't have a second or third or fourth subwoofer pre-out on your RZ70 available to feed only the ButtKicker LFE. So it's going to have to share. It's going to have to share one of them. And you're not going to share both of them. You only need to share one of them. And I would recommend that have a look at the delay settings that DRAC Live bass control has set for sub 1 and for sub 2, and choose the one with the lowest amount of delay, or
go with the one that is physically farther away from you. If the distance is set to farther away, go with that one. Now, so basically what you're going to have is a Y splitter on either sub 1 or sub 2, and one end of that Y splitter is still going directly to the subwoofer. That's just passing that signal along, like Tom said. The other half of that Y splitter is going into the mini DSP, because we do want to reverse the equalization correction curve that's being applied to that subwoofer. The tactile transducer requires no equalization curve whatsoever. We don't want any bass frequencies being boosted or cut for the tactile transducer, because it is not interacting with your room, and it does not have peaks and valleys that are the result of sound wave reflections in your room. It needs an unadulterated, un-EQ'd signal. But the only signal coming out of sub 1 or sub 2 has equalization applied to it. So we want to reverse that equalization, and the mini DSP is absolutely an ideal way to do that. Now, as one of our listeners informed us previously, you can do this with perfection and electronically, rather than relying on looking at a graph and trying to manually create the inverse of that graph yourself, or relying on ears or anything like that. What you can do is the MIDI DSP itself has a USB connection. So you connect that to your laptop that is running Room EQ Wizard. And then you have your laptop connect to your RZ70 receiver. So you have the sound coming out of your laptop, and then you have the sound being fed. Let's see. What's the connection back here? Right. So sound is coming out of the laptop and going to the RZ70. So that's the test signal coming from Room EQ Wizard. You're then going to have the subwoofer output that is connected to your mini DSP, and the mini DSP is going to be connected to your laptop, feeding that sound via USB. So what you're getting is exactly the change that the RZ70's equalization made to the signal. So Room EQ Wizard knows the signal it sent out that came from your laptop and went into your RZ70, and then it came out of the subwoofer output into the mini DSP, out of the mini DSP and back into your laptop. That's the full loop that's going on there. So Room EQ Wizard can measure, okay, that means this is what the RZ70's equalization did. And then you can just invert that graph, literally invert that graph and upload it to the mini DSP. Now that is the inverse correction that's being applied to your tactile transducer's amplifier. And it's a literal perfect inverse of exactly what the Dirac Live bass control equalization did to that subwoofer output. And now your tactile transducer is getting a completely unadulterated, un-EQ'd signal, bass signal. So yeah, that's the connection path. That's the order of operations, and you'll have a perfect tactile transducer performance from that. There you go.
There you go. That's what I said, but I said it like AI would have said it. By the way, am I the AI? I might be the AI, Rob.
You're definitely not the AI.
In your Wikipedia, is that what it is?
You're definitely not. So much better.
Adam, going back a ways, we previously recommended a WiiM amp for Adam, and he has been loving using it so far. It's just powering one pair of in-wall speakers, but has handled the task very well, and he has appreciated how easy it is to use. So he's looking at a couple more to expand his multi-room system. But there are 3 WiiM amp models to choose from now, and he isn't entirely sure which one to get. The original one, the same as he already owns, is still available to purchase for $300. I'm imagining this is just a 2-channel amp, the original WiiM amp.
2-channel amplifier. It does have a dedicated subwoofer output on it, and it detects when something has been plugged into that RCA jack, and then it has a fully variable crossover inside of there.
That's quite nice.
It's really quite nice, but he is not making use of that subwoofer output. He's just using the 2 left and right speaker amplified outputs.
All right. Then there's the WiiM Amp Pro. It's the same power, but it has updated Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and claims to have significantly lower distortion with better signal to noise ratio. It costs $25 more, and it's the newer model, so is it worth it? No. I'm going to say, really?
Yeah, and not just for those reasons. I'll go into the explanation after we've completed the question, but yeah, this is going to be one where it is not the one for you to choose in this specific scenario.
So lastly, there's the WiiM Amp Ultra with higher wattage and a little touchscreen on the front and additional EQ features. It's priced at $530. Sorry, I saw William said $350. $530. He doesn't see how he needs any of its upgrades, so he isn't really considering the Ultra unless we say it's super duper worth it somehow. The main thing is, though, he uses AirPlay 2 and he'd like to continue doing so so it has worked great with his WiiM amp, but the comparison page seems to indicate that the WiiM Amp Pro does not support AirPlay 2. So which WiiM amp model should he get to power the other zones in his house? I think you've answered the question, which is you want to use the thing that's already doing the thing that you like that it's doing and is the cheapest model that exists in this thing. So why would you upgrade?
It's a perfectly reasonable question. Is there something that's worthwhile and worth paying a little bit more for? Because they are newer. You know, there's no question the WiiM Amp Pro and the WiiM Amp Ultra are newer models. He's like, is there something about these new models that's worth paying extra for?
I will tell you right now, never in the history of ever has there come out a new amp from the same company where the words lower distortion and
better signal to noise ratio
has not accompanied that new amp. It's like you can make that happen through how you measure things, really, more than anything else. So yes, I'm not saying that they're lying in any way, shape, or form, but certain things have to be said. You know, you have to. You're trying to convince people to spend a little bit. It's only $25. I mean, first of all, you could have got me with just $25. There's only $25 more, and it's newer. Those are the two. I'm like $25. You know, if I eat by myself at a fast food restaurant, I'll be lucky if I get out of there for $25. Right. So that's not that much money, and it's newer. There you go.
Exactly.
But in your case, it's literally $25 that you could use to take yourself out to eat almost and have a hamburger someplace. So I would not spend it. You already know that what you have is working for you.
Yeah.
There is really no reason to look for more unless you're changing something else in the system.
Sure.
Right? If you're like, I have higher power, larger speakers with more bass and they require more power. Well, okay. Now we can start discussing things. But if it's the same speakers and you're using the same sources and you're doing all the same stuff, that's it. You're done.
But in this specific case, it is vitally important that you do not get either of the newer models and that you stick with the original WiiM amp. And thank goodness the original WiiM amp is still available to purchase, because out of these three, it is the only one that supports AirPlay. For whatever reason, and I'm sure this is a licensing thing between Apple and WiiM, but the WiiM Amp Pro and the WiiM Amp Ultra, neither of them supports AirPlay at all. Not just AirPlay 2. They just don't support AirPlay. And actually, thankfully, they do I'm not going to say it's like some kind of big highlight. You're absolutely going to notice it in big, bold text. But on the Amazon listings, they do mention, like, the WiiM Amp Pro and the WiiM Amp Ultra, it's in the description listings on Amazon. It says this is not compatible with AirPlay. So at least they put it right in there, and it is explicit. So given that AirPlay is your preferred control method for your multi-room setup, and that the original WiiM Amp does explicitly support AirPlay 2, and you know that it does because you're already using one, and thankfully that is not something that they have taken away. I will say, I would avoid doing any future firmware updates because I am just terrified that there's going to be a future firmware update that somehow takes that away, and they're going to do a thing where if you try to downgrade the firmware backwards, that it just bricks your device or something like that. So yeah, I would get these, I would take them out of the box, I would confirm that everything is working, and then I would never allow it to do a firmware update ever again, so that AirPlay definitely continues to work. But yeah, you specifically want the original WiiM amp, and thankfully it's the least expensive one, so there's no downside for us saying that.
Adam's home theater build was a DIY project. Just outside of the theater room itself, he recessed some wood shelves into the wall, and that has served as his media rack. We have some pictures on the YouTube channel or in the Flickr album, so you can check that out. You can see just outside this
very black
seemingly small French doors that he has here. There is a little rack there built into the wall for his gear, and then to the right of that, there's some shelves for his media, which is
that's right.
Cool. All along, he envisioned having a glass door to cover his DIY media rack, but none of the larger local shops would agree to such a small project, and especially shops that would do it for him when they charge over $500, so it's left as is at this time. Mm-hmm. Can I just say that I think that that's the best solution rather than putting the glass over the front of it? I know the glass might look nicer and might be a dust deterrent.
Sure.
But it would also be a heat encapsulator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not.
I'm looking at what you got there, and I have no complaints personally if that's what I had going on there. But anyway, I mean, he had a vision in mind, and he's got some questions, so we're happy.
So now he's thinking it might be easiest just to buy a ready-made 18U rack enclosure that comes with a glass door and recess that mount that into his wall. He found one on Amazon from a brand called Tech Mojo, I guess is what we're going with. Priced at $400. His idea was to expand the current opening a bit, add additional support at the bottom, and basically just drop the rack into place. You can already connect power back there, and the case comes with a top-mounted cooling fans. He already had a 3D printer, so he's envisioning printing custom front covers for devices like his WiiM amp and the PS5 that don't have rack mount plates of their own. Do we have any thoughts or ideas as to the best way to achieve this in-wall media rack? Is there a different brand or model of ready-made 18U rack with a glass front door that we would strongly recommend over the Tech Mojo one that he found? Let me look at this real quick.
Okay.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I think your solution is already really good, and I wouldn't spend. Do you need more space? Is that what is the problem here, or is it literally just the glass door?
An 18U is not much larger at all than what he has right there.
So this rack thing is $400 on Amazon right now.
That's right.
Okay, and he's balking at a $500
custom piece of glass
for what he already has.
That's right.
I assure you, sir, you are going to spend more than $500 on this project.
Well, I mean,
to put this thing in here.
Some of the components he has are not rack mountable, so he's going to have to either 3D print or buy at least a shelf to go in there. So some of that price is going to be higher than $400. That's guaranteed.
Well, and then plus he's going to have to frame the whole thing in because it's bigger. He's going to have to. He's going to need wood. He's going to need paint. He's going to need. And he might have all that stuff around, but it still costs money. Right?
That's right.
So buy the $500 piece of glass and then install some fans into what you already have. That's my solution to this.
So I
think that this is a waste.
He didn't go into all details of like everything that was made into that recessed shelves that he already has there, but like I am very, very, very concerned about airflow and ventilation. Because going with this Tech Mojo one or like any of the other ones, I'm going to point to another one that I think has a little bit of advantages to it over this exact Tech Mojo one, but like regardless, if you're looking at the design of this, it's like, okay, so it has its little fans that push air out of this rack up through the top. And I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know exactly how he built the shelves. I don't know what ventilation is already in there. Maybe he has, a way for the heat escape out to the top at the back of those shelves. We obviously can't see from the photo. It's all black and we're not seeing inside there. That's all well and good. But the air that is being circulated, that is just passively coming in through the lower vents on this Tech Mojo rack. That's just passive air coming in through the bottom. So first of all, you don't want it sitting completely flat on its bottom. You can remove the caster wheels. You don't have to have the caster wheels attached to the bottom of it, but it has vents like on the bottom. Yeah. And you don't want to block those. And then you have to have free airflow around the sides and back because that's where all of the cool air gets drawn in. So we're not talking about just a small expansion to this recessed shelf that you've built. We're talking about a sizable expansion to that hole, which you're then going to have to visually cover up because you need free airflow from the bottom and the two sides and the back coming to this case because that's the only way it can get air into it. And then I don't know what your exhaust situation is. I'm thinking you must have some way for the hot air to get out of that recessed shelf that you already put in there.
Right underneath
that's right.
receiver, it looks like here. Yeah. And PS5s don't generate a huge amount of heat compared to like the Xboxes
it's not nothing.
Of the old days. But it's not nothing. And usually... Like, I would be hard-pressed to tell you which one I'd want on bottom of the situation because, I agree with you. I think there needs to be, if it were me, I'd spend the money on the custom glass front for this thing. Okay. And then I would spend whatever I needed to spend in order to get lots of ventilation to what you already have. It's hard to see what you have in here because everything's so black.
Sure, yeah. And like I have that concern that Tom voiced right away about if you do get the custom glass for the $500 that you mentioned, is like, what is the airflow situation? Because I mean, right now with no front on this thing, okay, even if, all you have is some exhaust going up, it's like, well, at least cool air can obviously just come in through the open front, and that's your airflow path. If you close that in with a solid piece of glass, it's like, how does the air get in? I mean, maybe that is all built into these shelves. We can't see for sure, but like it is crucial. It is crucial that the cool air can get in from the bottom and the sides and then make its way out the top. So like I say, maybe that's all been thought of ahead, but I'm majorly concerned about that.
Yeah, you need to Swiss cheese these shelves if you haven't already. These aren't already perforated metal shelves. If these are wood shelves, which is what they look like in this picture that I can't really expand on.
It does look like wood shelves, yeah.
Yeah, you need to Swiss cheese these, and then I would put fans or at least openings in the side walls and back, and then an exhaust out the top. You need to either draw air in or you need fans someplace in the situation if you're going to then close it in.
Right.
And then you need an easy way for air to flow all the way through. But remember, the air as it goes through that PS5, I can't tell if there's something underneath the PS5. But it looks like there's a PS5, there's a receiver, and then there's...
I think it's another receiver.
Is that another receiver? I don't know what's up there.
Yeah, there could be more than one setup where everything's being home run back to these shelves.
Yeah. So, I mean, this air is only getting hotter as it's going up. Right. So you need to get rid of it, quickly and efficiently. Yeah. So in closing it, like the saving grace right now is that this whole thing's open and the air is just, flowing out of the front of that. And then whatever other exhaust situation you may have installed in there that we can't see.
Yeah.
But putting that glass in there is going to make it a million times worse. Now, understand, I had a rack, tall one, freestanding on casters in my original home theater in Jacksonville. It had fans at the top and everything else. And I put the Xbox, the original Xbox, at the bottom.
Okay.
And it cooked everything.
Yep.
The receiver went into protection mode and everything else. You know where the Xbox ended up? Outside of it, on the top. Like I put it on the top in the free air because it was so hot that it was just cooking everything in there. Now everything, and it had fans. Yeah. It had fans at the bottom to suck air in. It had fans at the top to blow air out. Yeah. It did everything it could. And if it can be a real, and it had a glass front. It was very attractive. Okay. Lights and everything. But that's
enclosing
I would be
things,
very concerned about
restricting airflow in any way. Yeah, that's a major concern. So then, specifically with this Tech Mojo rack that you found, I'm not in love with it, and I'll tell you why. If you look up this exact, like the literal exact same model number on other websites besides Amazon.com, including, as conveniently for me, Amazon.ca, the photos in every single listing are different. I think those are AI photos. Those are not photos of the real device. Though I think those are AI-generated photos where they said, hey, create us a rack, an equipment rack with a glass front and our logo, because the photos are different at every single website where you can find this exact model. And if you see the one actual video of someone putting it together, there is glass on the front, but there's also just an entire mesh metal grate behind that glass, and it doesn't look like a glass front. It looks like a wire metal mesh grate because that's what you're seeing. So there is a glass panel preventing any air from getting through that wire metal mesh, but it doesn't look like a clear glass door. It looks like a wire metal mesh grate on the one video of someone actually putting this thing together. So I'm not in love with it. The other thing I would be concerned about is I would not want to rely on just sitting it on its bottom inside of the recessed hole that you create, because if you try to pull a device out from a top shelf, it could tip. And while it probably won't tip and come all the way out of the recess that you create, it could damage some of, what you're building DIY. So I would rather have one that is quote unquote wall mountable and you're able to secure it at the back to the back of that recess thing, if this is the method you go. So
the other thing, I just looked at that video, by the way. The other thing is this video, these pictures that they're showing, they have two little lines of vents on the bottom
Yeah.
edges, the sides and back, right? You see these two little lines of vents here. But in the video, it's vents from top to bottom.
That's right.
On all, at least both the sides. I didn't notice the back, but it is vents top to bottom. This thing is perforated. It's like Swiss cheese. And I'm not saying it's not strong. It's probably fine. But there's a lot more open air intake in this thing than they're showing.
But I'm not certain that what you see in the video is what's actually going to get delivered to you.
Yeah, I think it's who knows?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of trust in this one, I've just got to say. So one that I do at least know that the photos show what you're actually going to get is from Navipoint. It does cost more. It's $560 or $550 if you get the one that doesn't have as much depth. That's another thing. You want to look at the depth because say you have higher end AV receiver that has more than 19 inches of depth. You're going to want to know about that. So the Navipoint one comes in either 17.5 inches depth or a 23.5 inches depth. The 23.5 inch deep one will fit certainly, any piece of AV equipment that you're going to want depth-wise, but the 17.5 is definitely, narrow enough from front to back that it might not fit everything that you want to put in there. So you got to be careful of that. So $560 for the 23.5 inch depth, but then I don't know how deep that wall cavity is. Got to make sure it's going to fit. But this one has all the same features except that you can secure it to some studs on the back panel itself. It is technically wall mountable. Obviously, the amount of weight it can hold if it were suspended on a wall is lower, but that's not going to be the case. You are going to have some bottom supports, but it's, same thing here. The fans are on the top of this Navipoint one, and all of the passive air coming into it is through the bottoms and the sides. So it's the same concerns there, but I would point you to that. But now we're over $500 to buy this thing. So that custom piece of glass sounds better and better to me, as long as the air circulation is not going to be a problem.
Yeah. And like I said, that other one, at least in the video, it shows it being like Swiss cheese. I would prefer the Swiss cheese one versus just a couple of vents at the bottom.
As long as you have space around it.
Yeah.
You don't want a snug fit into that cubby.
Yeah. Nick is going to have the insulation of his house upgraded. His house's exterior walls were only insulated using bats of R13 fiberglass, so he's planning on having injection foam insulation added to all of his exterior walls. His house has siding, so they can just remove a strip of siding, drill the holes, inject the foam, and reinstall the strip of siding for an invisible installation. But while the injection foam company is on site, he was thinking he might have them inject some foam insulation into some of the house's interior walls as a potential soundproofing solution. He has already consulted with the soundproofing company in the past about his basement home theater, so he's familiar with their approach of insulating, decoupling, damping, adding mass, and blocking any and all flanking paths, but he doesn't want to go through that much trouble and expense in his master bedroom. There are two main soundproofing issues he's dealing with. He and his wife wake up for work at different times in the morning. When one of them is up earlier and getting ready in the ensuite bathroom, it's easy enough to hear any sounds that it can wake up the other person who's still trying to sleep. The bathroom also has a jacuzzi tub, and when its pump is working, it's pretty darn loud in the master bedroom. The pump itself has an access panel inside the walk-in closet, so preventing noise from the ensuite bathroom and the pump access to the walk-in closet, that is one goal. Mm-hmm. And second, they've got teenagers. They'd like the master bedroom to be quieter when the kids are up late and making noise. And we're going to have like a layout of the house here.
So he's colored in red in this diagram everywhere that he's anticipating that the injection foam insulation is going to be put. So it's all the exterior walls, and that doesn't really apply to this soundproofing scenario. But then we'll notice that on the walls of the master bedroom, there are some little gaps, and we're going to talk about those.
Yeah. I'm going down here. So for one thing, he's already prepared to replace the doors with solid core doors. The door to from the hallway into the bedroom and the door from the bedroom into the bathroom, both replaced by him. He wasn't really planning on replacing the closet door with a solid core door, but given the access panel for the jacuzzi tub pump is in there, would that cost be worth it, do we think? Okay, so this is like 700 questions in one question. So I am let's all get on the same page here.
Okay.
Let's assume, because even I, who know almost nothing about insulation and all of this stuff, heard the word spray foam and went, wait a second, I think I've heard some negative stuff about that. And there's a lot of negative stuff about that out there, people having horror stories of it being installed improperly and moisture being trapped and molded and a bunch of other stuff. Let's just assume, for the sake of argument here, that the company that he is going with knows what they're doing, that he's vetted them, that they're going to install this stuff properly, and that's not an issue. That Nick knows all about that and has already gone past that, because he doesn't need us to say, hey, I don't know if spray insulation is the way to go because of the this and that, and I heard some horror stories on Reddit. Okay. He's probably heard all that. So let's just go on past that. So he's going to do the entire exterior of the house just for insulation purposes.
Yes, for actual thermal purposes. And I'm very okay with that. Yes, the installation needs to be done properly. But the best houses to do that on are the ones with siding. Because where people run into problems is if you have a stucco-sided house where you can't just like remove a strip, so you're drilling the holes directly into it, or a cinder block or a brick exterior house or anything like that. So you're drilling right through the exterior finish of the house. One is, of course, the aesthetic point of you've drilled all these holes and those need to be filled in so that they're not aesthetically distracting. But the other major one is behind whatever the actual exterior fascia of your house is, what you look at on the outside. There should be a little gap between that and the structural exterior of the house, which is, in most house construction going to be a wood of some type, which should hopefully be covered with like a Tyvek or a Typar. The single directional permeable membrane should be on the outside of your house. There should be a little gap between that structural outside and the fascia outside, because moisture will get behind the fascia outside. Like there is no fascia that you can put on the exterior of any building that will stop 100% of moisture from ever getting behind it. Moisture will get back there. That moisture needs a path to get out, so there should be a little gap. Siding, that's built in. You can remove a piece of siding, drill the holes in the structural exterior, and the foam is not going to expand out into the gap between the structural exterior and the siding. I mean, you can see very plainly if the foam has escaped out of the holes that they drilled. But with the stucco exterior, or even the cinder block exterior, something like that, what sometimes happens is they drill through both layers, the foam gets filled too much, and it blocks that channel where the moisture is supposed to be able to ventilate and escape between the structural exterior and the fascia exterior. There's supposed to be that gap there, and sometimes the foam fills that up, or at least blocks it to the point that the water can't actually wick out of the way it's supposed to. So that's where the issues of, I had my house retrofit, foam expanding insulation put in on the exterior, and now I have mold and rot everywhere on the structural exterior of my house. That's why that happens. But with siding, that shouldn't be an issue.
So the question becomes, like, as he's doing this, should he also have it done
for the interior?
The interior. And how effective will this be? So much like water, like we say this all the time, sound takes the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance is where it goes through the same medium continuously. So if the sound is in the air, it wants to continue to go through the air to get to wherever it's trying to go. If it has to pass through a solid or pass through a liquid and then back into the air, it's going to lose a lot of energy on the way, and therefore that is where the sound deadening comes from. If you put more insulation in here, well, then there will be less sound transference, presumably. But where is the sound actually coming from? He has kind of identified that the real issue here is probably the doors.
Yep.
He's got doors to his master bedroom is directly connected to the dining room or kitchen. Okay. Which is also connected to the living room. So, which is presumably where the kids are. I don't really know. There's also stairways to the basement, which are on the other side of his bathroom and laundry room. But the basement presumably also includes being right underneath his bedroom.
It seems like.
Is that where the sound is coming from? Like, where is the sound coming from? Because if it is coming from the basement, it is coming up through the floor. And in which case, doing all this stuff to the walls or the doors or whatever isn't going to make that much of a difference. If it's coming from the dining room or the kitchen, the walls were already doing something. right? Presumably more than nothing.
Right.
And the majority of it was probably coming from the door area and coming from underneath the door, which is your air return for your AC or your heat. So putting a solid core door will make a difference somewhat. Will it be like I can now sleep through all this? Probably not. I'll be honest with you.
And we definitely need to remain cognizant of what is the air return situation because, so actually he's going to mention specifically about air return, but I'm thinking about like for that closet. He was like, should I upgrade that? I'm like, I doubt the closet has its own air return. It almost certainly needs to have a gap under the closet door. The bathroom, I don't know, maybe like usually a bathroom is going to have at the very least a vent so you can get the air out of there. And then if there's forced air coming
moisture at the very least, they have to have something in there.
So that one you can probably have a sealed bottom on the bathroom door, and you could since we actually do know there is an air return inside this bedroom itself, that you can have a sealed bottom on the door from the bedroom out to the rest of the house. So that actually seems very reasonable. The closet one though, I'm doubting you can seal the bottom of that. Now, if you put a solid core door on there and then still have a gap at the bottom for air return purposes, it's like it is going to reduce the amount of sound that gets out of that closet, but it's not going to be as much as if you could seal that door. But I wanted to return to the foam insulation itself because there are at least, broadly speaking, two very different types of expanding foam insulation that can be put into your walls. One of them is closed cell and the other one is open cell. And you can basically just think of them as... Sorry?
So guess which one we're going to say is better.
Well, it's not intuitive because you can basically think of them as exceedingly rigid and somewhat squishy. And so the closed cell foam is exceedingly rigid, and that is usually what is sprayed into the exterior walls for thermal purposes. And it does a very good job of providing a thermal break, but it does a terrible job of soundproofing because it is so rigid that it does stiffen your walls, but it basically just acts as, well, now my front drywall and my back drywall are completely sealed and more together than they ever were. It's a completely rigid thing. So you don't really want to put closed cell foam expansion into your interior walls for soundproofing purposes. It's great for thermal purposes, but it's not for soundproofing. The open cell foam, that one is a little bit better because it's somewhat squishy. But that's the one that has all of the health concerns attached to it and everything like that. And it's like, oh, so what are we really doing here? The type of insulation that you would have retrofit blown into your walls for soundproofing purposes is the shredded up cellulose, essentially recycled newspaper and blue jeans that have been shredded up and coated so that they're, fire retardant. But that stuff absolutely does settle over time inside of the walls. And you have to put some fairly big holes into the walls to the point that I'm like, is it even really worth doing if you didn't want, any of the expense of the added finishing costs and all of that? So all of that leads me to say, I don't think just adding foam expansion insulation into your walls is the right soundproofing solution here for the walls. If you have sound that's actually coming through the wall surfaces, and it's not just the doors or flanking paths, if it's genuinely coming through the walls, your most cost-effective thing here would be to put a second layer of drywall over the existing wall.
Yeah.
And preferably with some constrained layer damping, right? So you put some green glue on the existing wall, and then you put a second layer of drywall on top of that. That is going to do much, much more for soundproofing than putting this expanding foam in your interior walls.
Yeah. I put a solid core door on my home theater in order to, increase the quote-unquote soundproofing that was going on. And I honestly don't think it made much of a difference whatsoever, because the real problem wasn't the lack of a solid door. The real problem was the air return that was coming through. We had insulation in our walls because I had insulation just lying around basically when we installed the new wall in my home theater, because we moved a wall and this was in the other house that flooded, and we put insulation. I put a lot of insulation in those walls in order to just make sure that we didn't that we had as much insulation as possible. Did that make a difference? I'm sure it made some difference, but the reality was the base was traveling through the structure more than anything. Even with decoupling and stuff, I mean, it's still shaking the walls in the home theater, which is shaking the walls everywhere else. So there's only so much you can do by just adding mass and trying to increase the flanking or decrease the amount of flanking paths that are going on here. For me, the real solution to this problem is more about distraction than it is about prevention. Okay. One of the things that, when my wife and I were first married, we lived in an apartment, and this was outside of Los Angeles, and it's the desert, and at night it gets cool. Yeah. Every single night. So they had in the window of the bedroom, there was no AC in the apartment, but in the window of the bedroom they had a swamp cooler. So what this is just it's a massive unit that's connected to your window, and it just trickles water down in front of a fan, which this sucks air from the outside and blows it past the water as it's trickling down, cools the air, and then that's it. That's the whole cooling mechanism. And my wife just got used to it. She got used to that noise of that trickling stuff. And now I have to have rain sounds in my bedroom.
A white noise machine of some kind.
A white noise machine, yeah. So while it would be nice to not have these other noises going on and to do what you can to sort of remedy them, especially with that jacuzzi pump. I mean, it feels like I'm making an insulated box that goes around this thing to help contain the noise is good, but you have to be careful of the heat that you're also trapping in there.
Yes.
So, you really need to be it's easy to solve a problem and then create a much worse one.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So in this case, I feel like that's where this is heading towards. I'm trying to get rid of noise by not doing all the things that will definitely get rid of noise. And in doing so, I may create some real big problems for myself.
Well, and the thought process here is completely understandable and natural. It's like, and I am in favor of you getting the external, foam insulation for the thermal purposes on the exterior of a house. And so he's thinking, okay, well, they're already going to be here. What if I have them do some interior walls too? I mean, of course, that makes all the sense in the world. But I mean, ultimately, he's like, because they're going to charge like $1,200 just for the interior walls. Like that's in addition to whatever the exterior costs. And I'm like, I think that money can be better spent elsewhere. I don't think this is the great solution that you're hoping for.
Yeah, I think that in the end you will end up going, we spent $1,200 and things aren't even a little bit better. Right. I think they're going to be exactly
especially if it's
same.
The closed cell phone.
Yeah. So he says, are we still on B? No, where are we at?
Yeah, well, because that goes through the other things to consider. So it's just good to know is section B here.
Okay, B. So how effective would the injecting the foam insulation to the master bedroom walls be? There are a couple of extra things to consider here. So one of the bays is used as an air return for the bedroom, so it definitely cannot be filled with expanding foam. It has to remain unobstructed. On the other side of that air return bay is the laundry room. Yeah. So if you look at that picture there, you'll see that between the laundry room and the master bedroom, there's a couple blanks.
That's right.
Lack of red there, and that's where that is. And that's how many houses are. They just have a vent on the wall, and that's the air return instead of the underneath part. Is there anything not too expensive that could be done to that air return bay to improve its soundproofing and not render the insulation inside all the other bedroom walls useless? I already think that the insulation in the other bedroom walls are pretty useless, but I mean, usually what we would suggest is in an air return or a vent where the air is coming in from your AC or your heat, that you have not circular, but a twisting path. You want as long a path as possible, but you can't do that in a wall. That's just what it is.
So what
you want to have sound is going to go between one and the other. So if there's sound in the laundry room, it's coming through here. Yeah. I don't know that there's a way to get it to not do that.
Yeah. But what you can do is the same thing you would do to a metal duct air return, which is you can put a lining in there. It's essentially an adhesive with a mass-loaded vinyl, and then usually it looks like foil, right? Like a foam or a foil metal lining on there for heat purposes. So the same thing that you can do to damp the resonance inside of a metal duct, you can put inside of a wall air return, but that means you're gonna have to open up that wall bay.
I was going to say, you're going to have to take the whole drywall off. That's
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You've got to open up that bay and then put in the adhesive mass-loaded vinyl plus thermal foil lining in there. But yeah, that is the thing you can do, and there's not really much else you can do.
What is it? Another bay on that same wall with the laundry room on the other side has in-wall wires for the TV. Those wires run up to a plate that just has an opening for the wires to come through. So filling that bay with expanding foam would make it impossible to change the wires in the future. And he's thinking the foam will just be spilling out of that wall plate anyway, so maybe that bay has to remain foam-free as well. What do we think? I mean, if it's just an opening there, then you could, in theory, put like a piece of conduit or a couple of pieces of conduit,
right,
and before the foam was put in there. Yes. Again, I don't really think that
we're ultimately landing on we don't really think you should have these interior walls with the spray foam done.
Yeah.
So,
but if you were to do it, you could take that thing out, that plate out. Basically keep the wire there and just, measure out a piece of PVC or whatever, the conduit, and throw it down there and put some 90s on the end or, right behind those wall plates.
And then you put a temporary cover insert inside of that opening so that the foam can't expand out past it, and then you remove that covering afterwards. Yeah. So it can be done. That one is less of a concern. It could be done, but we're ultimately saying we don't think you should do the interior walls.
I bet if you were to do that, your foam company would be like, oh yeah, we know how to deal with that. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So the bay inside the walk-in closet where the pump for the jacuzzi can be accessed has remained open and foam-free, but that's one of the main sources of noise that he's trying to address. So all in all, do we think having the spring foam insulation as the interior walls around this master bedroom even makes sense? Nope. He's looking at the cost around $1,500 just to do the interior walls and add the 2 solid core doors. Is there something he could do with that same amount of money that would be superior in terms of soundproofing inside the master bedroom? I mean, how much is a really loud noise machine?
No, but
like with a speaker, like a big speaker on it. Honestly, I don't think that any of it is going to make any real appreciative difference. I want to say yes. You do have an air return in the room, so it is possible for you to put that solid core door with a weather stripping on the bottom and seal it in as best you can.
I would do that. I think that's a very reasonable use of funds. Is for the door from the master bedroom to the rest of the house.
But the rest of it, I'm like, I would talk to maybe a jacuzzi place.
Can you get a lower noise pump? Like actually replace the pump.
Replace that pump with something that's that gives off less noise, and then maybe comes with a box that's around it that's meant to be sound dampening, and the whole thing's meant to work together. I would So the solid core door with the weather stripping, since you already have an air return in the room, I think I would do that. I would talk to a jacuzzi place, see what they can. You can like, hey man, I can't take this noise. What can you guys do? I don't. Maybe that costs way more than $1,500, but maybe they're like, we can't do anything, and in which case you're like, okay, well, great, I guess. Those are the two things I would do.
Yeah, I mean, so if I were going to undergo any construction to increase the soundproofing of the actual walls, right? Then that's where it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more. But what I would do is I would have the actual is effective for soundproofing insulation blown into those walls, which is the shredded up cellulose and the shredded up blue jeans, which creates much bigger holes. But then that's not really a problem because you are going to fill in the holes that are created for that. But then you're going to put a second layer of drywall with green glue in between over that. So yeah, that's going to cost more than $1,500. But if you want something that's worth the money spent, that's the approach that I would take.
Yeah, I think he's still getting most of his sound from the flanking paths and getting.
I agree.
Spending a lot of money on these walls is probably gonna, it'll be like, oh yeah, it made a big difference. Did you get a solid core door with weather stripping on the bottom? Yeah. Did you fix the jacuzzi thing? Yeah. Okay. Well, then the drywall didn't really do that much.
Right.
Gurinder couldn't help himself and went looking for vertical banding on this new Sony Bravia 8 OLED using low luminance all gray test patterns, and he found some. Oh my god, I found the thing I was looking so hard for.
And the thing we said that is unavoidable on WOLED panels, they will be
and
there.
now I'll
if you
never
look
not
hard enough.
see it, and I hate my TV. Which TV should I buy now? None.
That's not actually it, but he just wanted to follow up. Couldn't help himself, and yup, there are actually some it's not perfectly uniform on a 3% gray.
3%.
If you increase the exposure on your camera in order to be able to capture it whatsoever, it can be found.
It can be found. I found it. But thankfully, with actual movies and TV shows, you really cannot see any vertical bands. They're never bothersome, so that crisis is averted.
Hooray.
Is it, though? Is it? Or are you going to come back and say, I was watching this movie and I think I saw some bands?
Your brain knows.
Now that you know. Ignorance is so much bliss.
That's right.
You don't even know. So he wanted to test the TV's Dolby Vision functionality just to make sure it's all working as it should, but he realized that since he is in Canada, he isn't paying for the highest tier of any of his streaming service, he doesn't seem to actually have any Dolby Vision sources. So should he connect his PS5 to test Dolby Vision? What other options does he have besides paying extra for the highest tier of a streaming service the highest tier of a streaming service for a month? I mean, Apple TV 4K, you can force that thing into Dolby Vision like right away. In fact, if you're not careful, you will, whether you like it or not. So that's what I would do.
That's the thing. Yeah, that is everything is coming out as Dolby Vision, whether it was originally or not. But yeah, if you have an Apple TV 4K, the PS5 is definitely not the device to connect because it doesn't output Dolby Vision no matter what. It doesn't do Dolby Vision. So Apple TV 4K, and I mean that works for some other streaming devices too, right? If you have an NVIDIA Shield, it can be forced to output Dolby Vision at all times. So that could be another. I mean, you're literally just testing to make sure that the TV functions and automatically goes into Dolby Vision.
You just want to see the light come on or whatever
right.
it is. Yeah. Like on my Samsung, if you're in SDR, when you look at like one of the setting like bubble things, it'll say it'll display in one way, but I think it's like the brightness or whatever will display in one way. But if you're in HDR, it like turns a different color or has like an asterisk or something.
It won't be Dolby Vision on a Samsung.
No, it won't be Dolby Vision, but it'll tell you that you're in HDR. So that's how I did it on mine. Was I basically forced my Apple TV 4K to put out SDR, made all my settings changes based on ratings or whatever it was, and then went back and then forced it into HDR and did the same thing. So
that could definitely work via one of your streaming devices, not a PS5. The other one is if you've been waiting for some shows to build up on the Apple TV, formerly Apple TV Plus, and I wish it still were actually, even though we made fun of the Plus names on everything, it did help to denote in this case that it was the streaming service.
Well, the solution wasn't just to make everything the same name. Right. That was never the solution. The solution was to come up with something better than a Plus.
The service. But anyway, now just called Apple TV, but Apple TV, the streaming service. If you've been waiting, you could subscribe to that for a month because they don't have tiers. So
that sounds like the Spaceballs sequel. Apple TV, the streaming service. Right. Sounds like Mel Brooks wrote that. Come on.
You could wait and see if you're already an Amazon Prime subscriber if Canada also gets the new Ultra tier at the same time as the USA, because they didn't make that explicit. They said it was only coming to the USA, but very often when they say that, it comes to Canada too, and they just didn't say so. But you could wait for that because at that point, when the Amazon Prime Video Ultra tier comes into effect, they're going to add Dolby Vision support to the non-Ultra tier, the one that just comes with your Prime subscription if you're already doing that for shipping. So you could wait for that, or you could go over to, this isn't the only place, but it's the one I'm going to link to, Demolandia. They just have like 4K Dolby Vision test clips that you can download onto a USB stick and plug that into your Sony TV and have it play them directly in Dolby Vision for free. So that is another way that you could do things, and I'll have a link to those test video clips that they have at Demolandia.
All right. Well, that's all our questions for this week. So thank you all. If you want to get your question answered on this podcast, all you have to do is ask us by emailing us at question@avrant.com. I want to thank our listeners of the week. I want to thank Dan for going to avrant.com, clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link and sending us a PayPal donation, as well as our 119 patrons on patreon.com.
Yes, indeed. Dan, thanks so much for that PayPal donation. And then patreon.com/AVRant podcast is where you can go to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So a big thanks to our 119 patrons over there.
We also got some notes of gratitude from Jay, Karl, and Adam. Thank you for thanking us.
Yes, thank you, Jay, Karl. Thank you, Adam, for those notes of gratitude and encouragement, because we do appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
That's right. Send in your questions because we are through them all. If not, we'll just keep skipping weeks until we finally get to everything set up for episode 1000.
Oh, dear.
All right. For AVRant, I'm Tom Andrew.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.